All right, good Thursday evening. It's time for our intergenerational confirmation class, and I'm glad you can be with us, whether you're watching live on Facebook or whether you're going to catch us a little bit later. It's great that you're with us, and hopefully we'll be able to start doing these in person here before long. We were having our administrative council meeting at Kansas Avenue on Tuesday night, a couple nights ago, and hopefully we'll be able to get back together a little bit. There were some questions about can some groups come back in and start meeting. I thought, well, why not? We're meeting back as a church now, so let's try to open things up gradually and hopefully carefully. So hopefully we'll be able to continue these online for a little while. Even when we get together, we'll do them on Facebook Live. But we may even revisit some of these topics. I really want to see some of our younger people get involved. So if we can pull them in on a regular basis and have them kind of get into the real confirmation aspect of what it is that we're doing, which is simply making sure we all understand the basics of our faith. And for all of us, it's a good reminder. It's something we should be doing all the time, I think, is revisiting what we believe so that we know why we believe it. Somebody asks us a question, we should be able to answer it. And so that's kind of what this is about. So we don't want to get in arguments with people or get in confrontations, but we do want to be able to stand our ground and be able to explain what it is that we believe, because we do believe, but why is it so hard for us to say it sometimes? So that's kind of what this is about. And also just for us to be grounded in the basics and in the fundamentals of the real most important aspects of our faith. So confirmation is just that idea of all of us coming together and studying God's Word. I believe that this is in keeping with what John Wesley was doing when he had the smaller groups that were meeting. They were kind of accountability groups. They would get together on a weekly basis and they would share with each other how they were doing and what areas were they struggling in. And so I kind of would see that as a part of the confirmation class at some point. Where are we struggling? What can we do to lift each other up? And how can we hold each other accountable? That's one of the things that I think the churches have not done real well. Maybe that's why church membership is way down across the board. I was watching something the other day and it said churches now in the United States, for the very first time, less than half the population is saying that it is affiliated with the church, I believe. If I could kind of just put it in layman's terms. But, be honest with you, I've said this before. I mean, if 10% of the population at the peak is in church on Sunday, that would be pretty impressive, because I mean that would be 12,000 people in church on Sunday, and there might be more than that. I mean, I maybe I'm a little underestimating, but still, we've got plenty of people we can evangelize and give them the good news, and hopefully we can get them into church. Because the reason church is so important is that it is the way that we stay focused and connected to other people, other believers. We can watch Christian television, listen to Christian radio, and be online and watching Christian programs and gatherings, even like what we're doing here, but it's just not the same as being in God's house worshiping together. So all that to say that we have plenty of opportunities, and I'm hoping that when we are able to really throw the doors open, we'll be ready to welcome our neighbors back into the church. Maybe they haven't been in church for a long time. During COVID, I think a lot of people had to come to grips with the fact that they needed something beyond their own little things that they had in the past that maybe gave them their comfort and their security. And maybe they realized, hey, when that was gone, what was left? Well, if you're a believer in Christ, Christ was with us throughout the whole ordeal, and is still with us, just like he's always been with us. So we had that awareness of his presence maybe like never before during this last 13 months. So anyway, enough of that. We are on our confirmation class now. We started these, I believe, in early December, and we've pretty much met almost every Thursday. I think last week we did a Monday Thursday service instead. So we're back now, and we are going through the Ten Commandments step by step. Now, I believe where we left off was about remembering the Sabbath day and keeping it holy. I think that was, we're not going to go into all of that again, but just to say how nice it would be, and really how important it is if we all had that Sabbath day of rest. God rested on the seventh day. Maybe we should be resting on our seventh day, whatever day that would be. But maybe for me it would be Saturday. and even Saturdays get filled up quite quickly. There was a week or two ago, maybe a few more than that. I can't remember. It's been recently, and I thought, oh, good, my goodness, I've got a whole day off. I haven't had that for a long time. And then there was one thing that came in, and then another. And I mean, literally within about 2 hours, my whole Saturday was literally booked from like 7 in the morning to 7 at night. So there with that, and then Sundays are busy days with church and getting up early, and then right back into the week. So if I don't get a Saturday break, it's like I'm not going to get one. And then you do that for about a month at a time. You've gone 30, 35 days straight without a day off. I remember years ago, about 1989, I remember one time I thought, gee, I think I worked almost every day in January. I checked it out. I think I worked almost straight through, which I'm sure a lot of people do. And I've almost always had part-time jobs. So, I mean, I typically have almost always worked, if not 7 days a week, good 6 days a week, full-time and part-time. Thank God I've been able to do that. But I remember that one time there was no break, and every week I went through, and every week, and that was a challenge, and it was cold, and the days were long, and anyway, we need a break. That's what I'm getting at. We need that time where we pull aside and we just quiet ourselves down. Maybe turn the phones off. We can leave a message. You can maybe turn the computer off, get off of Facebook or whatever it is that we're typically looking at. For me, I like to just keep up with certain things on the sporting front, or a lot of times I'll be looking up things with our churches, and even that's got to stop for a while. We just have to learn to relax. And for some of us, it is a learning process. It doesn't come easy. I was for a while coming home and taking naps in the afternoon, and those are pretty well gone. I was just telling my wife this evening, I said, I can't hardly take a nap anymore, So most days I'm probably flying by on about 5 hours of sleep. And who would have thought that a few years ago? I thought I needed 10 or at least 9. So I believe there's a reason that God gave us the third commandment to remember the Sabbath day and keep it holy. We should fear and love God so that we do not despise preaching and His word, but hold it sacred and gladly hear and learn it. And that's more looking at using the Sabbath day as a Sunday and making sure that we honor God by going to church. And I would like to see us recapture that as our society has just sort of drifted away from that. Won't get off on it. We already talked about it a couple weeks ago. But the one thing I will say is this. My one regret, maybe, or one of my many regrets, let me rephrase that. One of my many regrets in being a dad was getting to a point where I just sort of compromised on that one deal. And when my kids were playing sports, and sometimes they would be playing games at 7 o'clock, 8 o'clock, 9 o'clock, 10 o'clock, 11 o'clock Sunday morning up in Kansas City, we'd get back home at 1 o'clock in the morning from the game on the late Saturday night, get 5 hours sleep, get in the car and go right back up to Kansas City. Now, where's church? There's no church. And unfortunately, I believe that was a message to the kids. Now, I mean, I know the kids love the Lord, but it's just easy when you're not raised in such a way that church is something that you're going to honor so much, and that attendance is so special, so important that comes first. There are some people in some churches that will not play on Sundays at all, and I highly respect that. Not because of some type of a works righteousness, but because they've drawn a line and said, "This is where I am going to honor God." And it doesn't always work that way. You want to be up on a higher level team. They say, "Well, fine, you honor God all you want, but somebody just took your position on the team." So it's tough. It's tough being a parent now. When I was a kid, they didn't have those leagues like they do now, and the Sunday games were pretty much non-existent. Unless they were maybe Sunday night. I remember a few of those. But anyway, remember the Sabbath. Keep it holy. Set aside time to rest. Find that one day a week, whether it's Sunday or Friday or Saturday, whatever day works for you. Let's look now at our fourth commandment, honor your father and mother. We're going to go over this quickly because I think we hit on this last time too a little bit. What does this mean? We should fear and love God so that we do not despise or anger our parents and other authorities, but honor them, serve them, and obey them, love and cherish them. I like that last word, we cherish them. And I really feel blessed to have had a wonderful father and mother. And I can say that my heart's desire was to love them and to cherish them and to honor them, not to ever bring dishonor to my family. I'm sure I did things that weren't the greatest, But nonetheless, that was never my intention, was to do something intentionally so that it was going to come back and have a bad reflection on my family. And I wanted to honor my mother and my father, first of all, by obeying them and knowing what they stood for. And I wanted to be like them in that regard. And they always put Christ first. They always put the church very high up in their order of priorities. I mean, it was Jesus and church in that order, pretty much. I mean, church was uh, never even a question as I was growing up. And it's funny, when I got a little older, talking maybe late grade school, junior high, high school, I always made it a point to go to church, of course, for Sunday school and Sunday morning. That was a given. And then Sunday night, and then Wednesday nights I started going. And there was no like youth group. We did eventually kind of have a youth group at some point. But I mean, Sunday night was Sunday night church, which with the adults. I might have been the only child in there, maybe 25, 30 people. And I thank God for that opportunity, because it was just getting me into the Word that much, even at that age. We also did have the youth groups later on with our friends in the church, and that was a real blessing to be with them. Some of my best friends, people I still highly admire, we were all in there together, and so it was a good group to be a part of. As a young person, it's important we have that. Now you look at Oakland Church and you look at Kansas Avenue, there's no kids at all hardly. There's no youth group. I was recording today for our Fresh Bread for down the road towards the last week of April. I was doing those broadcasts and recording them. And so we've got some work to do in those areas. And that's really all I'm going to say about it. I think we all know, you look around, it's pretty obvious. And we've got work to do. How we're going to do it, we're going to have to pray about it first. And hopefully God will give us the inspiration. I'm sure he will. There's that knee-jerk reaction. A lot of times when we see something that needs to be done, we jump right to it. Sometimes just to do anything we think is better than to do nothing. And yet when we're praying, we're not doing nothing. We're praying. We're getting God's guidance, and we're getting his blessing. And then we set out on what it is we need to do. So these are things that you'll be hearing about, I do believe, in the next few weeks. And got some ideas. I will share this with you tonight along that line, and that is that we're probably going to be doing about a 1 hour kind of a listening session. It'll be on the same Saturday at both churches, at Oakland and Kansas Avenue, and then we're going to basically ask people to commit to 40 days of prayer. And when we come back, we're going to pray that God's going to give us some ideas, some visions, and some goals to go with. And I've already got some of those lined up. We may do some things in those 6 weeks that we're praying. We may hopefully meet once a week and just pray as a group and encourage one another. And then eventually we'll be able to share our ideas that God has given us and how we might be able to implement some of these for these churches. So I'm excited. By the time we actually maybe start getting some ideas written down and maybe establish some priorities, it'll maybe be hopefully into June or so. Sounds like a long time, but friends, when we pray 40 days, that's going to take up most of May and into June. So, hopefully by the time the first part of July rolls around, we're going to be moving forward. So, but the prayer comes first, and if we don't do it in prayer, if it's not bathed in prayer, as my sister once said, it's going to be for naught. We've got to pray first. So what does this have to do with honoring your father and your mother? Well, everything really, because when we honor our fathers and our mothers, especially if they instilled in us spiritual values, we are honoring them by being active in churches. We're being active in the ministry. We are giving of our time, our talent, and our treasure to the things of the Lord, and he will honor that. Trust me. That's what is pleasing to the Lord. That's that sweet incense that he wants. Not so much our good works and our deeds. He wants our hearts. And if our hearts are turned toward him and we put him first, then all these other things are going to take care of themselves. I really believe that. But honoring our father and our mother is critical. Again, let's read this again from the Luther's Small Catechism, and this, of course, from Martin Luther, who is the founder, of course, of the Protestant movement, of which we are a part. We should fear and love God, first of all. so that we do not despise or anger our parents and other authorities. I like that. So if you're at work, do you honor your boss? I would hope so. Um, let me say this real quick. Um, Never does any good to badmouth your parents, whether they're whether you're a child or an adult. That actually, there's a few things in this world that make me actually sad, and that's what I just don't want to hear people talking bad about their parents. I don't care what the situation. Take it up with the Lord if you got a problem, or find a counselor if that's what I mean. But short of just a terrible abusive situation, you know, it's better not to say a lot that's going to be negative. Um, and even sometimes people who have gone through difficulties in that regard with their parents, they have found the grace to forgive and to honor them, and maybe just to sort of see the Lord and how the Lord brought them through those situations. So just remember to pray for those who are having struggles with their parents. But as I said earlier, thank God I was blessed and truly blessed to have such good parents, great parents. My mother and my dad, I love them. I miss them. I honor them to the best of my ability. Don't always do everything I can, but I want to honor them so that what I do would reflect on what they have done for me. And again, they really showed through their example what it means to follow the Lord and to be committed to Christ. So we serve and obey them. A lot of people don't want to obey anybody. They want to obey themselves. They don't want to obey anybody else. So, we've seen stories in the Bible where the children were rebellious to their parents. That was documented clear back in the Hebrew scriptures, the Old Testament, and you saw case after case. You think especially right now, I'm of Eli's son, where he disobeyed God, or the sons disobeyed the Lord, and Eli didn't correct them. So parents sometimes have to correct their children, and not always going to be easy. And so, like I said the other day, sometimes when you're a parent, you're not your child's best friend, but you're there to be that authority figure, and they need to honor you and to respect you. So love them and cherish them. So that's the fourth commandment. We'll look briefly at the fifth, and we'll do this one next week. And it simply just says, "You shall not murder." And of course, that means we should fear and love God so we don't hurt or harm our neighbor in his body, but help and support him in every physical need. So that's what we'll cover next time around. And I do thank you for joining me this evening. Hope to see you on Sunday, 9:30 at Oakland, 11 at Kansas Avenue. Until then, have a great night. God bless you. Thanks for being with me.